Do you remember when Napster came out? I know it was, I guess, about the year 2000 when I first tried Napster. And that would have made me about 9 or 10 years old. And all of a sudden, you could download music. It was extremely sketchy, unreliable, and you could often get something that was not what you were looking for. But all of a sudden you could download music, and it was revolutionary. Of course, it ultimately led to the end of the recording industry as we knew it, but for a little while there was a Wild West where there was CDs and everyone was still making a lot of money and people were making music, and also you could get it for free if you knew how. Well, on the playground, I was one of the few kids who knew how. And my grandparents had a iMac computer that they were a little overly hopeful about learning how to use. It was one of the ones with the colored back. And Nana and Grandpa never figured out how to use the computer. But that meant that I got to use the computer. And I very immediately began pirating music with it. And so once I figured out how to use Napster and to download music illegally, I also learned how to burn CDs, and I would go around the playground in 5th grade, and I would tell people that I could burn them a mixtape of any music that they could think of, any popular song or classic song, anything they might want, and I would burn it on a CD, and I would trade it for baseball cards or money. I think I remember selling one for like $3 or something like that, which is big money when you're in 5th grade. It's plenty of candy. That's probably even a couple slices of pizza. So yeah, I was a little music pirate, and I don't know, has the statute of limitations run out? That was like 25 years ago, or maybe the recording industry of America will come after me still. This is Earth Tones episode 25. The internet is not cool. That's what we're talking about today. Is the internet cool? Well, I certainly thought it was when I was 9, 10 years old selling all these Napster, or trading. I should call it trading. I was really trading them for baseball cards and things. I knew enough about the law to think that maybe this was potentially fair use, or maybe I was just wishful thinking. Here is Earth Sound 25.
Check 1, 2, 2, 2.
That's me setting up at a restaurant yesterday, and you can hear that there's some hum from a dishwasher or a heater of some sort, and it's just like a cozy winter place to be. And I had the debut of my new Martin guitar that I just had a pickup installed in, and its debut on Earth Tones I think will be next week, but I've got my trusty old Martin still here today, my old one, and I was excited. And that is the sound of a restaurant right before the gig begins. For a bit of old news, here is a very cool magazine that I couldn't help but be attracted to when I went to Barnes & Noble during the Christmas time. The magazine is called The Flow Trip, and I guess Flow is some sort of publisher. Maybe it's a lifestyle brand or something like that. I definitely fell for this extremely attractive cover, The Flow Trip, and it's called The Desert Issue. And I open it up, and it's just these beautiful pictures of the desert, and I thought, wow, that's awesome. So even though it wasn't directly music related, I had to pick it up. And then, fortunately, what was cool is there was a little bit about the Tuareg people and desert blues. So my friend David Wesson and I both really like this band Tinariwen, and Thad, my buddy Thad, has come to like Tinariwen a lot too. They are a fantastic group made of folks from Northern Africa, the Tuareg people. And this is an interesting article here. It's called, as part of this desert issue of The Flow Trip, there's a segment here that's called Songs of the Sahara, the evolution of Tuareg sound. And so it says the Tuareg people are native to the countries spanning the Sahara, including Mali, the Republic of Niger, Libya, Algeria, and Burkina Faso. What started in the past as spiritual, ceremonious music used to preserve ancestral knowledge has transcended into the present day as modern Tuareg rock. This brought the desert blues to the world, combining traditional melodies and instruments with contemporary sounds to continue to share Tuareg stories of resilience and connection to their land. This is a really great magazine here. It's mostly not about music, but there's a couple of really interesting pages about music. And I wanted to share a little bit about Tinariwen. So this is something from the Wikipedia page, which is cool. Once I wanted to add a little bit more to this old news story. This is directly from the Wikipedia. At 4 years old, Ibrahim Ag al-Habib witnessed the execution of his father, a Tuareg rebel, during a 1963 uprising in Mali. After seeing a Western film in which a cowboy played a guitar, Ag al-Habib built his own guitar out of a plastic water can, a stick, and some fishing wire, according to future bandmate Abdallah Ag al-Husseini. During his childhood, Ag al-Habib lived in Algeria in refugee camps near Bourj Baji Mokhtar and in the deserts around the southern city of Tamanrasset, where he was given a guitar by an Algerian man who also taught him to play the Algerian style of Turgay music. So they go on to form a wonderful group called Tinariwen, which is, if you haven't heard, one of the best bands ever. They formed in 1979, and the word Tinariwen comes from this phrase, Kel Tinariwen, which in the Tamashek language translates as the people of the deserts or the desert boys. What was really cool is it all started with this cassette trading type of way of recording. They were able to get together, and they were in refugee camps, but then ultimately in some military training facilities where living together, a bunch of folks were playing music together and playing guitar and writing songs, combining it with this historic Tuareg music. And they created a studio where they told people, if you bring us a blank cassette, we will put music on it for free. And it allowed the music to grow. They would record lots of music, and it would get copied and transferred and distributed all throughout the Sahara and all throughout northern Africa, ultimately leading to Europe and an appreciation for their music. And then they made their first studio albums starting in the early 90s. And they've since won Grammys like Best World Music Album and all sorts of things. But Tinariwen, for a bit of old news, Tinariwen forms in northern Africa in the late 1970s. Okay, for our main discussion, is this a hot take? I don't know. Here it is, episode 25, Earth Tones, Jake's take. The internet is not cool. It didn't become uncool recently. It has never been cool. Useful? Of course. Fascinating? Absolutely. Mind-blowingly convenient? For sure. But cool? Maps are cool. GPS isn't cool. The internet at its best is a directory of cool. Music is cool. Art is cool. Even business and finance can be cool. Those are all things that happen in real life. The internet is a way to connect things together, cool things ideally. Sure, it is a beautiful way to spread knowledge and gain access to music. In so many ways, the internet is such a blessing. But cool? Nah, the internet can't be cool. And this show, Earth Tones, well, it's an internet show. Is it cool? No, man, of course not. The radio is cool. If this was on the radio, it would be cool. But the internet is not cool. All right, obviously, I enjoy the internet very much. Ever since I started talking to my friends on Instant Messenger and burning illegal pirated music CDs to sell to kids on the playground. Of course, I've loved the internet, and having it in my pocket with the iPhone, of course, is very interesting. Being able to record voice memos is great. Being able to communicate with you right now over the internet, it's fascinating. It's beautiful, and I'm so grateful for it. But lately, I've been thinking, because of this whole dawn of AI, is the internet cool? It's kind of not cool. It's kind of never been cool. Trading cassettes through the Sahara is cool. That is awesome. That is people saying, this is a real thing. That's real vibrant culture. That's an actual thing. The internet, maybe it was cool. Maybe there have been times where parts of the internet were cool because they were a bit DIY. But when I think about the internet and how it's really this like big corporate thing that we're all like just feeding into, it's not cool, man. Learning and doing things like in real life is such a fulfilling and rich experience, and interacting with the internet is often very negative. Now, that being said, I love the internet, and I think that it's very valuable and, dare I say, even cool sometimes. But it's best when it's connecting real people and having real conversation. So my friend told me the other day that, they were talking to folks over Reddit about, managing addiction and sobriety and navigating all the difficult parts of that. Now, that's extraordinary. And he was saying that he had a lot of great conversations with people on Reddit that were very helpful, and they were supporting each other. So the internet is so awesome. If there are people who can share something that's very hard for them, especially if it's hard for them to share in the regular real world with each other, maybe to admit something that's hard for them, if they can get help from strangers, if we can build each other up and connect and unite people and to help lift disparate parts of the world out of poverty by bringing electricity and technology there and creating industry, then that's fantastic. I still am not convinced that it's cool. I think coolness comes from who we are as people, and the internet is really just like a way of connecting it. Maybe that's neither here nor there or silly, but that's what I was thinking about this week, so I figured I would share. I think part of me gets a little bogged down thinking about, oh man, what do you have on YouTube? What do you have on Spotify? But like, if a band had only ever put out some music on cassette in North Africa, would they still be legendary and a very cool band? Of course. I'm glad Tinariwen has made albums that I can listen to on Spotify, but being underground and being in the real world with analog and it being based on people's sharing things, like I'm passing someone a cassette, I'm looking at this tangible thing. I don't know. I think that that's what cool is made out of. It's made out of real things. So, for a musical demonstration today, here's something. So imagine you're just trying to get the spirit of something cool like Tinariwen. Now, I can't play like them, but what I appreciate are certain aspects of their music, and one of them is the steadiness and the spirit of keeping this drone happening. Now, if you can you don't have to be able to do crazy fingerstyle, but if you can play guitar and just keep your thumb happening. I think we've talked about this before. You can express yourself a lot with just a single string and just keeping a little bit of that bass going. And that connects you to this history of music that's thousands of years old, where we're just really trying to create like a trance. There's a certain space that you can afford yourself by playing something that doesn't need to go anywhere in a hurry. It can just stay where it is. And you play something on top, and it can be fun. It can be therapeutic to just keep a steady groove like that. So that's our musical demonstration. What is on the turntable this week? I was so psyched to happen to randomly grab this. This is the Derek Trucks Band album, Already Free. It is a double album. Of course, it's from an era where the CD would have been still popular. So although this would have been released digital, you could have gotten it on iTunes. It wasn't like we had big streaming, because this is 2009. I think I got Rhapsody first in terms of a streaming service. That was probably about 2011 or so that I started paying monthly and have been paying monthly for music ever since. This was this was still a CD type of album. So it's got 4 sides. It's a double album. And on vinyl, man, this is great. I'm sure you can still probably pick this up. I bought this when it came out, so this is probably, it must have been the first run, because I was a huge Derek Trucks fan. And this was, in 2009, this is heavyweight vinyl. It's like 180 gram plus. It might even be 200 grams. It is so good. The quality is amazing. So that is the last studio album by the Derek Trucks Band before they went on the indefinite hiatus, which really means they were absorbed into the Tedeschi Trucks Band and have been recording as that ever since. But this is an album that was recorded when Susan Tedeschi and Derek Trucks built their studio, Swamp Raga Studios, at their house in a barn in Jacksonville, Florida. And you can see some pictures and this beautiful case here we got. On the inside, on the fold, there's a lot of great pictures. So that is the Derek Trucks Band, Already Free. It won the Best Contemporary Blues Album Grammy, and that was 2009. Check it out. Something that helped me this week, I was working on the song Blame It on the Sun by Stevie Wonder, and it's just too hard for me. Meaning, it's just in my range where I should be able to sing it. There are no notes in it that are completely out of my range, but it's up there in a way that to sing it like with conviction and with enough relaxation, it's hard. And so what was helpful for me this week was to just choose something that was just out of reach. And I want to do that as an episode next, to work on the nearly impossible, but the just barely possible. So I happened to open up a program where I've got a bunch of songs, and I just wanted to practice a bit. And I said, I'm going to work on a Stevie Wonder song. And I just looked through, and I thought, oh, okay, Blame It on the Sun. I love that. And what I did was I just hit play on like a backing track. This is in the app iReal Pro, which gives you like a accompaniment, like a little fake band-in-the-box accompaniment. And I just hit play, and it plays the backing track, and I played the melody from memory. And I was glad that I could play it on guitar, and it kind of just came out without ever having worked on it, because I love the song, and I love that album, Talking Book. And then I thought, I should be able to sing this. This is right in my range where I could be able to do it. It's at the upper part of my range. And I started working on it, and I was pretty excited about the fact that I don't think it sounded good, but it was something that I ought to be able to do. And so I've been working on it this week, just singing along with the karaoke track and playing it when I can. And I think that was really cool to find something that's really just exactly at that spot where if you put time into it, it's going to get better. I really wanted to be able to play it yesterday at my gig, and I knew, man, I've only been working on it 2 or 3 days. It's not going to come out strong enough. But soon, maybe next month even, I'll be able to play that. So that is the 25th episode of Earth Tones. Can you believe it? 25 episodes, 25 weeks of doing this. So thank you so much for listening. And even if the internet's not cool, thanks for being along for the ride with Earth Tones here. I'm going to continue to be on the internet. I never said I was cool. So I am Jake Pardee. This is Earth Tones. You can visit jakepardee.com for more information about me and my music, and maritimerecording.com for more information about you and your music and how I might be able to be involved. Thank you for tuning in as always. I'm signing off, and I'm always here to remind you that we are a beautifully musical species on a distinctly musical planet, whether you're in the North African lineage, or you're in the Delta Blues lineage, or you're in the Laotian Molam music, or you're playing Celtic music, you're playing reggae music, you're playing anything that you might be playing, you are part of the Earth music. And we're going to need it by the time we get out to the rest of the universe and start sharing what we have to offer, which is probably really cute animals and a lot of cool music. All right, I will see you next time for Earth Tones episode 26.